Welcome to UK Voices 22. The lights dimmed on the Graham Norton Show, the laughter echoing through the studio, and then came a moment that nobody expected. Dame Helen Mirren, the ultimate British acting royalty, delivered a comment so sharp that the audience gasped, while Meghan Markle's name hung in the air like a bad note. What was supposed to be yet another carefully crafted PR push for Meghan ended up spiraling into a humiliating takedown that Graham Norton himself couldn't resist amplifying. For a woman who has tried to carve out a Hollywood queen image for herself, this was a reminder that in the UK, the respect she craves is not easily handed out, especially when legends like Helen Mirren are in the room. From the very start, you could feel the tension building. Graham Norton teased a topic about Hollywood ambitions and British traditions. The audience leaned in. And then Helen Mirren, in her trademark graceful, but cutting style, weighed in with a line that had both wit and venom, and it landed squarely on Meghan Markle's ego. This wasn't just a throwaway remark. It was a cultural verdict, a public reminder that Meghan has not just lost favour with the royals, but also with the British cultural icons, who shape public opinion. And the irony. It happened not in a palace, but on a comedy talk show stage, where humiliation cuts deeper, because it comes wrapped in laughter. This opening moment set the tone. Meghan Markle wasn't just being criticized. She was being openly humiliated, and by Dame Helen Mirren of all people. But why did it matter so much? Because Mirren isn't just another celebrity. She represents Britain's cultural elite, a woman admired for her wit, class, and connection to the monarchy through her award-winning role as Queen Elizabeth II. For her to side with Graham Norton in poking fun at Meghan wasn't just entertainment. It was a symbol of how the tide has turned against Meghan in the UK and beyond. Where the humiliation deepened. As Norton pressed the conversation, carefully threading the line between comedy and mockery, it became clear that the audience was siding with him and Mirren. The laughter wasn't forced. It was real, loud, and almost cathartic. Meghan Markle, who has spent years crafting an image of victimhood and misunderstood stardom, suddenly looked like the butt of the joke. The brilliance of this moment wasn't just in the words, but in the delivery. Norton smirked, Mirren sipped her drink, and the crowd roared. It was Britain's way of saying, "We're done buying Meghan's story." And if you think this was just television banter, think again. Within hours, clips of the exchange began circulating online, with comments flooding in. "Helen said what we've all been thinking," one viewer wrote. Others called it the ultimate public takedown. The controversy grew legs because of the deeper context. For years, Meghan has painted herself as the misunderstood outsider battling an archaic monarchy. Yet here was Dame Helen Mirren, an actress who has portrayed the Queen herself, publicly skewering Meghan's narrative with grace and authority. It wasn't malicious, but it was pointed, and that made it sting even more. And Graham Norton. He didn't just let the moment pass. He doubled down with sly comments that kept the laughter rolling, making it clear that Meghan has become fair game for ridicule among Britain's elite. The more the audience laughed, the more obvious it became, Meghan Markle wasn't just unpopular. She was a punchline. The humiliation didn't stop at the studio doors. Headlines followed. Social media buzz exploded. Fans clipped, dissected, and shared the moment worldwide. For Meghan, who thrives on control of her image, this was chaos, uncontrollable, humiliating chaos. And what made it worse? The very people she's always wanted approval from, Britain's cultural icons and sophisticated audiences, were the ones laughing at her expense. By the time the show wrapped, one thing was crystal clear. Meghan Markle's attempt to redefine herself as Hollywood royalty had collided head-on with the very real perception that in Britain, she is no longer respected. She's ridiculed. Dame Helen Mirren siding with Graham Norton wasn't just a funny TV moment. It was a symbolic blow that underlined Meghan's shrinking credibility. The ending of this saga delivers exactly what the title promised: humiliation. Meghan wasn't just criticized behind palace walls, nor dismissed quietly in tabloids. She was openly laughed at on a mainstream stage, with one of Britain's most beloved actresses, and one of its sharpest comedians uniting in subtle, but devastating mockery. And here's the final sting: this wasn't presented as hate, but as comedy. That's the worst kind of humiliation, because it makes defending yourself look even more desperate. How can Meghan respond without appearing humorless or bitter? She can't. The laughter is the verdict. The humiliation is permanent. The moment Dame Helen Mirren casually sided with Graham Norton against Meghan Markle will be remembered not as a joke, but as a turning point. Meghan's Hollywood narrative of control, victimhood, and self-importance didn't just crack. It collapsed under the weight of laughter from a crowd that represented Britain itself. In the end, the message was brutal yet clear. Meghan Markle wanted to be embraced as royalty, but in Britain's eyes, she is destined to remain the punchline.